Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. In the last episode of our Hitman Escorting AI, we made it so this AI can absolutely know when we're trespassing or we're not. So if we look at him and activate his gameplay tag, he's currently idle, but if we walk into a trespassing area, we are trespassing and he knows we are. If we exit, we are no longer trespassing, but he's still keeping track of us. Unless we sneak into the side where he can't see us anymore, we are trespassing, but he doesn't know it just yet. In this next episode, what we're going to do is make it so the AI can actually try to escort us out. So we're going to define some places where he can escort us to, and then when we are trespassing, he will tell us we need to be escorted out, we need to leave, and he will walk us out. So let's get started. So we now have our AI set up so it can detect when the player's there and whether or not they're trespassing and see them, which is all of the key things we need. So back in our state tree here, when they're trespassing, we jump to this is trespassing node here, and at the moment we've just got a temporary delay. But this is where we can start checking multiple things. So we're just going to start by doing the first exiting, and then we can look at later adding the ones where if you're trespassing multiple times, they become aggressive, but we can work on that one. So the first thing we're going to need is actually some exit points for them to get out, because it's not going to be super easy to actually, on the nav mesh, tell the NPC where an exit point is without putting some kind of marker there. So what I'm thinking is we'll just set up basic target points of an outside area. You could of course also use specific nav meshes and work with that, but for my game I just need it a lot easier. So I'm just going to put one here, potentially one at the back door, for example, but I'm going to leave at least one of them just so we can have an exit route they don't go to. So it really is going to be as simple as, let's just add a normal target point to the exit. We'll make sure it's outside of the exit zone, and I'm going to give it a tag of trespassing exit. And you can also rename it as well, TP trespassing exit front door. Something so it makes sense. And while I'm here, I'll also just add it to the back door, so I'll just Alt and drag it across, just so it's over here, look. And we'll call this one back door. And I'm going to keep the tag name the same so we can find it nice and easily. However, I will leave this one open, because if you do manage to escape his view and he's looking around for you, if you escape out of this way, come around here and he sees you, we want it to still be okay. So let's work on our first part. Let's add some basic dialogue to him, just something so we can say, you know, you're trespassing, you shouldn't be here, go away kind of thing. So back on our trespass security, inside this trespassing, instead of the temp delay where we're just, not doing anything, I'm going to get rid of that one. And I'm going to add a child state of warning dialogue. Now for me, I already have a task of play dialogue we can reuse. And if you don't have a dialogue system, you're just going to have to do something like print some text out or play a sound. But my play dialogue task here, all it literally does is load in my dialogue class, use the narrative tails dialogue and quest system to play the dialogue, waits until it's finished, and then finishes the task off. So for me, I can set the actor so it's already preset with the context, and I can come and create some basic dialogue. But like I say, your task can just play sound if you want to. But I'm going to come to my narrative folder, dialogues, and inside here I'll just create a new folder of trespassing, and I'll create a new narrative dialogue, DB trespassing guard, and I'll open it up. I'll just make sure to populate the speakers with his name, which was the night guard, and then I can add in my dialogue here. So I'm just going to put, hey, this is a restricted area, please follow me back out. And I'll add all of the other dialogue while we need it here. So we've got the warning, we've got the, hey, I already told you this is a restricted area, follow me. That's for the second warning that you've gone back in. And then we can do the aggro one, but for that one, we probably have a proper combat system. Hey, get him, he's been told multiple times. That's our aggro one, essentially. But we are going to eventually work on the player evading the guard while he's being escorted out. So I'll also add those ones in as well. Of, hey, where did you go? And that's where the guard is escorting you out, but you sneak away or run away. So I'll do one more of found you, don't try that again, follow me. And that's if he's discovered you after you ran away. And then by that point we can just make him walk back because he's run away essentially. So I've now got audio for all of those so we can just have a quick listen. Hey, this is a restricted area. Please follow me back out. There we go. So back on our state tree, on the warning dialogue, I can come in and I can just assign my Knight's Guard dialogue. And I can come in and specifically set the warning one, which is the one I want to use. For anyone who doesn't use narrative tales, you can just assign the audio or some text to print out or anything else you have. But at the moment, we won't actually be able to get to this one because last time we put just a temporary blocker in just so we can test what we had so far. So at the moment, when our perception check for the player reports target has been seen, or the target stopped trespassing, or they are trespassing, we just bump it always to idle every single time. You can see we've added the events here. If they've been seen, or if they're trespassing, or if they're not trespassing, it just goes straight to this player has been seen, which just applies a tag to the AI of the player is trespassing. So one thing that we have to cater for at the moment is we currently store his state as a tag and other tags as well. So what I mean by that is at the moment, if we look at the NPC and press the apostrophe key, his states, his tags, is idle. That's not just for the trespassing, that's kind of for everything, right? And if we walk in, you can see he's still idle. And when we start trespassing, you can see he now knows we're trespassing, but his state is still currently idle. So the way our state tree is working is at the moment it comes down and says, do they have the tag of idle? Then just play idle, even if they're trespassing or they're aggressive. So what I'm going to do is just simply move idle all the way down to the bottom, like so. We want the up arrow. So it first checks if they're aggro. We'll do aggro first because that's the most dangerous one. Then trespassing, then idle. So you'll see one minor issue we have now. And that's if we run up, that print statement is going to fire repeatedly. There you go. As you can see, it's absolutely spamming it. And if we walk forwards, it will stop. And this is something I've accidentally messed up myself when we were typing in the numbers. You may have done it. You may not have that issue. And that is the red and the green circles. The green circle is them seeing you. The red one is them losing you. If they can see you, how can they lose you? That's not a thing. They're looking at you. So we need to flip those circles around. And that is simply on your NPC, on the AI perception, just flip the numbers around or increase the lose sight radius. Because it needs to be bigger. They can't see you, but also claim to have lost you at the same time. That doesn't make sense. As I come into view, look, you can see it said only printed once, and if I leave and if I come back in, you can see it only prints once. So that fixes the spamming nature of it and optimizes our game just that little bit more. Next, we have to fix the spamming of the warning dialogue, and this is simply because it plays the dialogue, goes back up to root, comes back down and sees they're still trespassing. We already know that. So what do we need to do after they've warned the player that they're trespassing? Well, we need to find an escort point out, the closest one, and we need to take the player there, essentially. So as the guard is here, or wherever he is, we need to do a scan for the closest trespassing point and say, this is the one we're going to walk to, which will be this one here. We will, of course, repeat this if the player runs off and the guard chases them, and we'll say we run it from here, it will find the nearest one as that one, you know. It takes to the nearest escape point. Likewise, if we do it over here, the nearest one will, of course, be this front one here. So back on our state tree, underneath this warning dialog, I'm going to add a sibling state of find and escort to outside point. And we'll make sure that this warning dialog has a transition that when it's completed, it just goes to the next state instead. So we need to add a task onto here. So let's come back to our tasks folder and I'll create a new blueprint class, type of state tree task. And we want the blueprint base. We'll click select and I'll call it STT find non-trespassing point. So the purpose of this one is to literally just do exactly that. It's just going to find a trespassing point that we can successfully exit from. So I'll enter state and I'll simply do get all actors of class with tag. The actor class I'm going to set to target point. The tag I'm going to actually promote to a variable and make it instance editable. So when we add it to our task, we can populate it. That means if you've got different guards in different areas or different houses, they're not finding ones from miles and miles away, essentially. Makes it a little bit more efficient. And then from here, we need to find the closest one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I take it back. I was just going to say, we'll promote this to a function so we can drag off and loop over to find the nearest actor. Because I've just discovered something new I didn't know. This is amazing. If you have a list of actors, you can drag off and instead of looping over them, checking the nearest one, storing it, Unreal's got this find nearest actor function built in. That's amazing. I never knew this. Okay, let's roll with it, because that's cool. So the origin is the point where you're checking from. So we're going to add the NPC in here. So I'll just type actor, and it'll be a type of my BP NPC. And I'll make sure this is set in the category of context with a capital C. Instance editable. We can drag the actor in and just do get actor location. So we'll find the nearest one to him, and then we'll have a distance, which you don't need to worry about, but we have the return value, which is the important one. So we can drag off that, promote it to a variable called nearest actor, and we'll plug it into there, and we can just call finish task now, because that's all that one's going to do. I will, of course, come in and just set the class settings just to make it a bit neater. Find nearest non-trespassing point. And I really wish I'd have done that on more of them, but that's fine. And then back on our state tree, on this find and escort to outside point, we can now add our find nearest non-trespassing point, which will find the tag. In this case, we want it to be the trespassing exit. So we'll paste that tag in there. So we'll just jump back into this task, and we'll set this nearest actor to be an output, an instance editor. So we've got 3 types here. We've got the context, which goes to the state tree and finds the existing variable, which is actor. Output, which outputs any data so we can use it in other functions. And then we have the tag, which is an instance editable one in no category, which we can type in. And you'll see you've got your 3 versions here. Now that we've got the nearest actor, we can successfully tell the AI to walk to that location. So whilst still on this one, I'm going to add another task of move to, and we can come in and just set the target actor with the little drop down to our find nearest non-trespassing point, and we specifically want the nearest actor there. The acceptance radius we'll just set to something like 50 so they don't have to walk directly on it. And the last thing we need to do now that we've set the target actor is we need to make sure that this task, where it finds the nearest trespassing point, is just an optional one. It runs, but it doesn't have any say in this node's completion. So I'm just going to come and untick it there. Equally, you can either untick it so it counts towards it, or you can say all of them must complete. Either way works completely fine. And now you should see, if you come and play it this time, as we walk up to the guard, he should warn us, and then immediately after, he should start walking to the non-trespassing point. So as we walk up, he will warn us. And you can see he's now walking up to the non-trespassing point, essentially escorting us out. How cool is that? It does glitch out when he gets there. The only reason it's doing that is you've got to remember a state tree runs in a loop. So it's coming down, it's going, you're trespassing, warn them, walk to the exit point. Once they've got to the exit point, it goes back to route, comes back in, warns them, exit point. That's fine. As we build it up, it will stop doing that. However, there is one minor bug that at the moment, if we sneak into the house and we know full well he can't see us, so he's currently idle, as we walk in and start trespassing, he immediately warns us, even though he can't see us. So we're going to fix this by coming into our idle state here, and where we've got this player has been seen one, this technically runs for whether they've been seen, unseen, and whether they're trespassing or not, or this will run for everyone. So we'll come and edit this task here. And at the moment, we're just checking if we're trespassing true, we add the state that the player's trespassing, otherwise we remove it. So what we're going to modify this to do is basically drag off a little bit, and we'll make a little bit of space, and we'll say if they're trespassing and the player can be seen, then we can say the player is trespassing, otherwise we're just going to remove it. Because if they're trespassing but we can't see them, we can't really say the player's trespassing, we don't know they're there. So to get whether or not it's been seen, I'm going to add a boolean to this. Player is seen, and I'm going to make sure this is an input type, instance editable, and I'll connect this to here and tidy this up a little bit like so. And then for the player is seen variable, back on our state tree, we've got our player perception check for the player right here. So I'm just going to click the little pencil icon to edit it. And if we send this event here saying the player has been seen, I'm actually just going to come and add a boolean called player is seen, and we'll set it to a boolean single, and I will set this to true right there. And then for the player to not be seen, back at the beginning on successfully sensed, I will just set it to false there, look, if we are no longer seeing the player. Then back on our state tree, where we are doing player has been seen, it's asking for the boolean, we can click it, we can get our perception check and just bind it to that. So as this evaluator runs and updates that boolean, this one should be updated too. So now this time, if we sneak in around the back, it shouldn't tell us the player is trespassing because they shouldn't have the tag. So as we run in, you can see they can't see us. As we trespass, boom. The player isn't trespassing because they can't see them. Technically, we can either walk really close to them, but they won't see us until we successfully go into their eyesight. There we go. And now he will trespass out. There you go. And he's now continuing on perfectly. And if you play it this time, you'll see as you run up, he will say nothing until you start trespassing, then he'll warn you. and then he'll start successfully walking to the area, which is good. He will then repeat what he said, but that's completely fine. That's just because we've not finished it yet. You will, however, see that we currently have one little bug. As he's walking, if you walk back in, you'll see he repeats himself, even though he already knows where you are. On the perception update task, we're calling stop movement when the AI has seen you. We don't technically need to do that. I can't quite remember why it's in there. It might be for the hide and seek system. So instead of deleting it, actually, I will wrap it in a branch. But what that's doing is when it's stopping movement, it's automatically completing this move to, going back up to root, coming all the way down and warning you again. So I'll add another boolean into here, stop movement on scene, and I'll default it to true to make my other systems work. But what we'll do is we'll drag it in, convert it to a branch, and only do it if it's true, otherwise we go straight to the player is seen boolean. And we can tidy it up, there we go. Back on our state tree, we will untick it for this one, stop movement on scene, so basically he doesn't stop if he sees you, he'll just keep walking. Which is exactly what we want, because we don't want it to repeat the warning if he's already given it you. Because we can't follow him if he is, away from us. And you can see it's working fine, he successfully moves out, which is very good. However, when he is walking, we actually need to check if the player is actually following them or if they're running away. So there are a bunch of different ways we can actually handle doing this, but the first thing I'm going to do is actually just extend the level a little bit, just to give us more space to play with, because otherwise we're going to struggle a little bit to actually get him to walk any considerable distance. I'll then come and update the triggers so it covers the entirety of it, and I'll move the NPC as well all the way over here, and I'll make sure he's facing that way. Kind of like a guard stood watch somewhere, right? Because now, when he warns us and he says follow us, we have to walk all the way back over here. We've got plenty of time to run away. With a quick test just to see if it works. Yep, he can see us and he's going to successfully walk away, in which case we can decide to try and run away. But there are multiple ways we can actually track the player's direction, depending on what you want to do, and depending on how complicated your setup is. For mine, I've just got a single target point with an open area, and most of the places I plan to use this will be semi-open area. But if you've got like a maze, essentially, so take the one out of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So for one like this, if you had to get, say, to the estate grounds north, sometimes you have to go closer towards it to come back away from it, to go closer towards it to get out. And sometimes you've got to completely walk away from it. So for example, if I walk up here to the mansion basement, I'm not there, I'm going to have to walk all the way down, which is coming further away and in the opposite direction. Which is why we can't just use the target point, because then you'll be walking all sorts of ways to do it. So what we're going to do instead is actually follow the NPC and make sure that the player is in range of the NPC with a buffer. So if you slow down a little bit or you overtake them is fine. But if they're outside of that buffer, and then we can start activating the hey, where did they go, looking around for them part. So as the NPCs walk into here, we need a way to track the player. So I'm going to come back to the state tree. On the find and escort point outside, we're going to add another task into here, which is going to track the player's location and the distance to them with the NPC. So let's come to our state tree tasks folder, create another state tree task, and I'll call it STT track player from NPC, and we'll open that up. I'm going to use the tick function to do it this time because we need to repeatedly check the distance. The variable, I will get the actor, which will be the NPC. I'll set it to a type of our BP NPC, and it'll be in the category of context, instance editable, and then I can drag them in. I can get their actor location, and I can drag off and I can do distance, and we want the vector. For the second vector, I will get the player pawn. We can drag off and do get actor location, and we can plug that into the secondary option. And I can say if this distance is more than, and I'll promote this to a variable called distance buffer, and I'll make sure this is a instance editable, but it doesn't need to be in any category. So if that's more than that amount, then we know that the player is successfully getting further and further away from the NPC. You could add multiple stages if you want to, such as, hey, keep up, like you'd see in most Red Dead Redemption companion style followers. But I'm just going to do the one distance, that if you get outside of it, the NPC gets angry. If it's false, then they're not further away from it, we don't need to worry about it. However, if it's true, then it successfully means that the player is outside of the range where you're not happy with them anymore. So, I'm just going to use the same logic as we've done before, where we do send tree event, and we'll promote this to a variable called player left NPC follow. So they've left the NPC's following distance essentially. And now we'll just call finish task on this one with a failure because we're outside of the range. In class defaults, I'll make sure I tick should call tick only on events because we want the tick to run. And I'll make sure that I set the distance buffer to be something like, we'll try 1,000 and see how that works for us. And I'll make sure I tick the NPC event as instance editable. In the class settings, let's give it a name, track player from NPC, compile and save. Back on our state tree, we can add this task to the existing one. Track player from NPC. Everything's all synced up and we've got our event there. And then under this one, I'll add another sibling state. And this one we're going to essentially ignore for now, but it's going to be player lost, ask where they are, essentially. Inside here, I'll add a child state, which will be the lost dialogue. For this, I can just come and copy the warning one, because it's almost got everything we need anyway. And I'll come onto here, add a random task, and just paste over it. And now I can go and get the dialogue we need for the warning, for the lost. Hey, where did you go? And we'll paste that into there like so. For now, we'll just let that go back up to root and carry on, but we will continue on with that later, because that's where we start activating the search protocol. They'll walk to the last known location, they'll look around for a moment, they'll say, oh, never mind, he's probably gone, and we'll go back to our default spot. But from our find and escort point to outside, we'll add a transition, which when we get an event, the required event we want is, we'll go into states, AI, and we'll just add another state inside here of player lost, and we'll add new tag, tick it on there. We'll also make sure to add the same tag to the track NPC event here, because otherwise it's not going to know what to do. So we'll add the same player lost tag. We don't need to worry about the other ones. We can add an origin for debugging, track player from NPC, and then when this one hits it, we'll make it go to player lost, ask where they are, which will come into here, play the dialogue. However, on this find and escort outside point, if the event runs, the player's lost. If the event doesn't run, that means they've successfully reached the area with the player in range. And at that point, the guard has done his job, he's escorted the player outside. So what we'll do is if they successfully arrive there and the player is with them, we can basically tell the guard to go back to his standing post. So I'm going to add a sibling state of guard return to post. And inside this guard return to post, I'll just add a child state of move to post. And well, for now, we'll just give it a move to task, and I'll hard code in the location just based on his existing position. But we will make that more flexible later so he remembers his last position. And after it's done this one, we'll add another sibling state of set state to idle. So we want him to ignore that the player's trespassing and all that other stuff. So we'll come and create yet another task, and I'll call this one STT remove effect by tag. And again, if you're using the gameplay ability system, with this one you'll just get it to remove a gameplay tag or however you're tracking the NPC state. I'll add actor as a variable with a type of BP NPC set in the category of context, and on enter state I will just get the actor. For me, in this case, I will get their ability system component, and I will simply do remove effect with tags, and I'll promote this tags to a variable, which I'll set to an instance editable. And now we've got a really generic way we can remove the tags. So what we're going to do when we get to this one, we're going to remove the player trespassing tag so they go back to idle essentially. So just after this, I'll call finish task because we don't want it to do anything else. I'll make sure to give it a name in class settings, remove effect by tag. You can call yours whatever you want. Back on our state tree, set state to idle. I can add the task, remove effect by tag. And the one I want to remove is the player AI trespassing one there. Once that's complete, we want it to go back up to root, which will come down to idle in theory. We do need to make move to post go down, so after they've moved to the post, we'll just say go to the next state. There we go. Back on our find and escort to the outside point, let's just make sure that on state completed, it does indeed go back to the guard return to post. So now, when they come in, if we are trespassing and they see us, it will play the warning dialogue. It will try to escort us outside. If we leave, he will play the dialogue, hey, where have they gone? And it'll just go back up to the top and repeat it for now. But if they successfully guide us outside within range, then he will move back to his normal post, and then he'll set himself to idle, where he should just carry on like normal, in theory. So let's give it a go. So play it this time, you can see he stood over there. He can now see us. If we run up close, we're trespassing. Oh, there we go. So he played it way too soon, that's why. So it did glitch out slightly because at 1,000 I think we were just out of the range of that. So we'll keep walking up. We will probably need him to walk up to us to actually say the dialogue, but that's fine. And you'll see if we stay with him, he'll escort us out. We are officially not trespassing anymore. There is one minor bug, so if we run up, we've got two things we need to solve, and that's that he tells us off from a distance, but if we get up close, he will successfully walk down. If we look at him and press the apostrophe key to get the debugging, and on your numpad press the number 2 to activate the behaviour tree, you can see which global tasks he's currently running. So he's finding and escorting us to an outside point. So once we get out of it, we're no longer trespassing. He's going to walk here and he'll just freeze. There we go. And that is simply because you can see he's still trying to escort us to the outside point, but his move position is finished, so it's not that. So you'll see back on the state tree, on the find and escort to outside point, all three of these need to be complete. But the track player from NPC is never completing because we never left his reach. So I'm just going to untick that one and say these two must complete in order to trigger this one, but if we leave them, then this one will automatically trigger that one based on the event. So this time you'll see, if we play it this time, and I think I might actually just drag him and bring him forward a bunch, because this could take forever to debug otherwise. So I'll just drag him forwards. There we go. And I'll come back. He'll play the dialogue, and then he's going to walk down here. We can follow him, and you'll see once we arrive, we're successfully no longer trespassing anymore. So he's going to turn around and say, oh, I'm done. That's it. He's now going to walk back. We can press the apostrophe key to see. He's moving to his post. So let's see what he does. We're trespassing now, but he's not looking at us, so he won't get us again. And there you go, he's returned to his post essentially. If we apostrophe, you can see he's back on the play idle one, which is where the game started off, so we can run back up, and the loop is there. We've got our first loop in it, look. There's still plenty more to fix, but this video is getting on a bit long, so I am going to pause it here, but you have essentially now got a nice little loop. If we leave him for 1,000 distance, he stops and he tries to warn us again, but we know that's the glitch anyway. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is the next part. He is officially now escorting us out of the building, which is very, very cool. In the next episode, we're going to sort two more parts of this. One, where when he gets back to here, we need to make him walk over there, turn around, look for us again, essentially. But whilst he's walking back, we need him to also be checking the player in case they run up behind them, essentially. And the second part, we'll start looking at building the aggro meter up. So if he's already told you, he remembers that he told you, and gives you the second dialogue of, hey, I already told you you're not allowed to be here, and if you do it for a third time, he can get aggro, where we'll set them to there, you can activate your combat system. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, there is the second part of the Hitman Escort series. It's going to be very, very cool when this is done, and we're going to make it super generic, so you can just place guards randomly everywhere. If any one of them sees you, we'll let them take you on. So thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this was helpful. If you've got any other suggestions for cool stuff you'd like to see, please let me know below. My name is Decryption, and I will see you next time.